Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by pewsitter.com, your online Catholic newspaper for the third millennium, catholicmediacoalition.org, in line with the Church, online with the world.
And theamericancatholic.com, politics and culture from a Catholic perspective.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Catholic News Roundup. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. The world's newest country, South Sudan, has formally declared its independence after a 2005 peace deal between the North and the South. Though the formal declaration was made on Saturday, Christians all over the country gathered in churches this past Sunday to celebrate their newfound freedom in a land that has been ravaged by Muslim persecution and genocide for decades. The number of Christians in the country is unconfirmed, and the U.S. Department of State sources says most people follow indigenous pagan animist beliefs, though Catholic and Anglican influence have grown significantly over the past 2 years. The country's president, Salva Kiir Mayardit, is a Roman Catholic. The deal was brokered by George W. Bush back in 2005. Meanwhile, in China, bishops under duress. In an effort to ordain more bishops without papal mandate, the Chinese Communist government is trying to force a bishop to take part in an ordination scheduled for this Thursday. The priests of the Liaoning Diocese have gathered in his house in an effort to keep him from being forcibly deported for the ceremony. Bishop Pei, who is in communion with the Vatican, was forced to take part in an ordination along with 7 other bishops last year. The Vatican statement earlier this month, excommunicating any bishop that takes part in illicit ordinations, has many bishops afraid of being forced by the government to take part in the rebellious ceremonies. One bishop says, quote, "I live in fear and trepidation every day of receiving the order to participate. I'm really exhausted." From persecution to infidelity, Rainbow Mass in Boston. The gay mass scheduled for this weekend in the Beantown Archdiocese took place on Sunday as St. Cecilia's Parish opened its doors to a crowd larger than that of Easter Sunday. The Mass was scheduled over a month ago in honor of Gay Pride, causing uproar among faithful Catholics and the Archdiocese to cancel and reschedule the Mass twice. The pastor of St. Cecilia's, Father Uni, preached from the pulpit reminiscent of Martin Luther's famous "Here I Stand," saying, quote, "This is not about taking a stand, it's about standing in the right place," end quote. The Mass was attended by hundreds of so-called homosexual Catholics, all part of the parish's Rainbow Ministry. And with more homosexual propaganda, gay indoctrination going national. The Department of Education has decided to make sure children are exposed to homosexuality in their extracurricular activities. The Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, has issued a letter to all school districts in the United States from the Office of Civil Rights for elementary, secondary, and middle schools, in which he says they will be advised on how to establish gay-straight alliance clubs. Duncan calls the message a key policy letter for the Department of Education, which says, quote, "School officials may find it helpful to explain to the school community that the Equal Access Act requires public schools to afford equal treatment to all non-curricular student organizations, including groups that focus on issues related to LGBT students, sexual orientation, or gender identity," end quote. You can read the full story on our resource page by clicking on the link right over here. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by NewOxfordReview.org, the voice of Catholic Orthodoxy, in print and on the web, and RenewAmerica.com, expanding the influence of America's grassroots in the cause of freedom.
Pro-life picket. Protesters in a Detroit, Michigan suburb squared off in front of a Planned Parenthood fundraiser this past weekend, but what secular media sources are calling a confrontational clash was really a celebration of life in the face of the culture of death. Youth from Michigan and as far away as Chicago were on hand to challenge the building of an abortion mill in the area. Planned Parenthood has purchased a building nearby and is currently fighting in court to bring an abortion clinic to the area. You can see the full video of the rally and get more information on the abortion mill controversy on our resource page by clicking on the link right outside the screen. Father Cutie, not so cutie, a former Catholic priest, will be launching his new syndicated television show today. Alberto Cutie, also known as Father Oprah, will be offering advice to guests on his show called Father Albert over a number of so-called everyday problems by projecting his past on their difficulties. Cutie has been on a Catholic bashing spree ever since he was caught on camera rolling around on a beach with a married woman while he was a priest. He is now an Episcopalian minister married to the woman he committed adultery with. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tune in tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com, and be sure to check out The Vortex today, where Michael talks about the coming persecution. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tell all your friends about us, and as always, God bless.